mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. It's all hard, ain't no fear here. You ain't giving this to all you.
Good, whatever it is. Welcome to another exciting episode of Ride the Rebellion podcast. I'm Drew, who also found a man chained to a tree. And with me, as always, is the C-suite leadership of Dale Boyd Sports Management. Dale Boyd.
And I'm not the guy that was chained to the tree.
It was not. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yes, confirmed. I have officially knocked that off my bucket list, finding a prisoner chained to a tree. That happened.
Was that the first time you've seen handcuffs on somebody you didn't have to pay for?
That is correct. I did make a bunch of furry handcuff jokes. They were like, hey, go. The people kept saying, like, Drew, go get your handcuffs. I was like, mine are furry. Use a different key. Just leave it at that.
We'll get into that. A safe word instead of a key.
Yeah, mine only use a safe word. We'll get into that whole situation, shenanigans, here in just a few moments. Today, the episode is going to talk about the, I just wanted to talk about the weirdest shit you've ever seen riding your bike. Yeah. Because, you know, you're in the woods a lot, you're alone a lot. We've seen some crazy videos. There's that one of the cougar stalking that dude. Not a female woman cougar, but a female cat cougar.
And not a 95 hot rod.
Yeah, exactly. and that cougar's chasing him, and that's terrifying. So we've seen that stuff, but I think there's others. I've seen one of a grizzly chasing a mountain biker. We ain't got those things in Alabama per se.
No, maybe people that think they are those things.
We got some crackheads though.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about the weirdest things we've seen mountain biking. As always, we'd love for you to comment on it. So if you could, just go ahead and jump in the comments, throw yours in there. And you know what? If somebody has something really great, maybe if you say something and we can verify the truth to some extent,
yeah,
whatever that means, maybe we'll give you a prize.
Yeah. Or what we could do is if you have a super good story, message us and maybe we'll get you a recording and put it on
that'd
there.
Be fun too.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Then you could tell your story. We'll record it. Your Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah, you can do that. You can message us, and there's the phone number thing you can call in or whatever. We'll figure out a way to do it. Bring it on the show even if we have to. Okay, so let's start with our sponsors. Of course, we start every show, or I do anyway. Dale doesn't drink coffee, with a delicious cup of... That's how you taste coffee. That's fact. Shannon will know. A delicious cup of Lucky Shot coffee, because that's how I roll. I just want to shoot my shot.
All the way to the top. I don't know. That was on the spot. I was drinking my Mountain Dew.
I cut right to you into it. It was just deer in headlights awkward.
I just woke up. My eyes are a little crusty still anyway.
Yeah.
So
I still have like a body hangover, I think, from the events. We'll also talk about, not to knock Shannon out of the way, but we just did. We're also going to talk about an event that happened.
That's right.
We had the I guess the first annual ho enduro.
I know, and there was a very dirty things going on there.
Yeah, it was a wacky one for sure. We'll talk about that. There's also some video up somewhere that you can see some of the footage of it. We did all those kind of things. We also have Run and Try as a sponsor. You want to jump into that?
I didn't know I was cued. You got to use some pointing fingers or something.
I know.
I'm
I
still
didn't
asleep.
even think about it until after the fact.
Whenever you're talking, the camera's on you. I just one eye open. Like my uncle or my dad used to do. All right, so Run and Tried in the Piccadilly Square over here in Mobile. Pretty sure it's called that. But Aaron is always...
We say Piccadilly, not Dally.
Piccadilly, dilly, whatever you Southerners do. So Aaron's always ready to handle anything you need when it comes to nutrition, shoes, excellence, or just
Your comma between nutrition and shoes was a little abrupt, so it sounded like you said nutrition shoes.
Yeah, they all go together. You actually put the goos in the sole of the shoe.
Do not eat shoe goo. We are not saying to eat shoe goo. I'm pretty sure that will
There's
kill you.
There's a caveat. Yeah, we don't want that. But if you put the goo underneath your sole of your foot when you're running, it actually absorbs faster. I think you should try that. It makes you really fast.
Oh, my God.
But Aaron will also give you the proper advice that's probably not true. Go ahead and ask him. If you go in there and ask him, if I put shoe goo in my shoes, will it make me faster?
I picked up some Tailwind.
That's good.
It is. It did a very good job. He was unfortunately sold out of UCAN because of this stupid radio show, which was a problem. He's my UCAN dealer, and now he has none. But I did pick up some Tailwind. It was good. I got a cola flavor. And the effect of the product was fantastic. I'm not knocking the cola flavor, but it's weird to have a cola flavor in your water bottle. It's like a watered down Coke, and it just kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I think they have like a disco lemonade flavor.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it seems like that. I needed a fruity thing, not a pop.
Yeah, and it was
Is
good.
that what you say? Pop?
A pop. Yes, we do say pop. That's good. There's no cola or soda. where I'm
Everything's
from.
Coke in the South. It's
Yeah.
all Coke. You got Sprite Coke, Coke,
Right.
Dr. Pepper Coke, Diet Coke.
I thought when it was great when you offered me a little bit of it, and I was like, nah, I got a donut.
Well, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
Of course, this weekend, if you see this footage, you'll see a lot of people going fast.
Yeah.
One of them is Kevin Black, who went lightning fast.
Lightning
Kevin Black is an unofficial sponsor of the show. He whooped our ass so bad we may even pull a sponsor card because of the ass whooping we took.
I mean, I'm supposed to get a tattoo of his baby picture on my chest.
Yes. I mean, things went south real quick.
Yeah.
Kevin is legit. He's a great rider. He obviously competes against Toby, which is my segue to say that those two guys are very accomplished, and one of the two of them will teach you how to ride even better for free, and one of them will teach you for money.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, one of them gives you free ass whoopings.
Also, one of them will give you a free tattoo, and the other one will charge you for a tattoo.
That's right.
So I'm going to let you guys figure out who does what, but all I'm going to tell you is Man of War Tattoo does fantastic work.
That's right.
It's pretty much guaranteed that you'll love it. There's no guarantee. I'm not going to put that on Kevin or Toby. I'll let you guys figure it out.
Yeah.
And then Dirt Coaster Academy is where you go if you want to learn to ride better, shred better, jump better. I would argue even live better, because I think you can take away a lot from it. I used a lot of
better. Confidence better.
Yeah, confidence built for 100%.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I wish we could get him out for a private thing just on our stuff one day, maybe, Toby, and we'll film it and sell it on DVD. Anyway, but the idea was learning some of that stuff, just knowing, going and turn certain things. I know the courses, we got to ride them on this race ahead of time, meaning I knew what I was getting into, but still to make them instinctual, to have all this stuff having been built in so much from practicing it, made a huge difference in my speed. I was pretty happy with it.
It is crazy when you're going the speeds that we were going, like where you go to like, all right, my regular lazy way is not working. I got to get to the real way.
Right.
Like, so you're coming through a corner at 20 some mile an hour and you got to press it like bike body separation
100%.
to get through the corners. So
100%.
it's crazy what you use all those skills to work, to make it work. And ironically, I think most of the people that were going the fastest are Dirt Coaster Academy alums. So
Yeah. I don't even know if Kevin's actually ever been.
yeah, he took private lessons.
Oh, well, there you
back
go.
in the beginning.
Got it. So that's what I'm saying. So like minus Jakey Poo, because he refuses to do anything.
No, but
He doesn't listen to this podcast, so it doesn't even really matter.
Right, and his bike's so little, so it helped.
It was kind of funny to see him. But, other people are like, just imagine him on a 29er. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine him on anything beyond
Because we
a
have a bike rack.
pedal bike.
We have a bike rack, and then we'd have to have a step to the bike because he would have to climb up onto it.
No. It's so
Until he
easy.
listens to this,
I
I'm just
know.
gonna
It's
keep
so
going.
easy. He can't even defend himself
No.
because he refuses to listen to the podcast or ride an e-bike. Either way. All right. So that kind of wraps up our gang there. We got our people covered.
That's right.
We got our Lucky Shot. We got our Man of War. We got our Dirt Coaster. Uncle Bobby is doing something different with Clean Eats. So until that dude pays me, not Uncle Bobby, but the new dude,
Oh, he's out.
then he's out.
Yeah.
So if they want to jump in the bandwagon, they can do all that stuff. And so we'll kind of jump into our initial topic. But before we get to that, I think we should talk about the Reb first. Let's talk about the event, what we did out there, because the ho Frendurho was a very different thing. We introduced a new racing mechanic in addition to the Frenduro mechanic that we've kind of patented as the Reb style. We kicked off something new, and we thought it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of shenanigans that happened out at that place. The DVDA comment will forever live in my brain as one of my favorite moments of comedy in history. I can't replicate it. I'm not going to try on this show, nor am I going to explain what that is.
There's two of them that happened. The dog one.
What was the dog one?
Oh, you eat dogs too?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, you can tell that one.
Yeah, but not with the accent, so it doesn't.
Oh, yeah, then it
doesn't
does
hit
make
as-
you. Yeah, you can't. You're right. So, again, it's one of those, you had to be there. We try not to do a lot of inside jokes on the show. If we do, they're so inside you guys don't know it.
Right. Yeah, we're
like real
giggling and
subtle-
we pause each other's camera or microphone, like lean back.
They're real subtle bits. But what we did do, though, is if you've seen the video, we posted it last episode as a preview, but if you've seen the video, we did go through and we built some new trails, and we built some trails explicitly for this event, which have now become favorites, I think, of everybody that rides out there, which is what to say when you build something that's fun, something's fun. And so we kind of started out with, we had talked a while back about having some more XC style trails, or we call them all mountain out there, but more XC style trails to get some pedals in. And so I'd started on this one and then was like, man, this would be a fast little great starter loop. We don't really have a name for it yet. We have a name for the whole trail section. Shout out to Justin for not Lincoln Park. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's not Lincoln Park on a fake DVD or CD. Burnt.
We'll let him explain that one day. But so we have that trail that's been developed, but the first portion of it, we put a nice berm on it. I needed to experiment with some berm building skills anyway, so we put a nice berm. That was a very quick trail. We built off that. Not much to it. However, we then built a trail that Dale was on the upper portion of, and I'll let you talk through this, but you're on the upper portion. So we had the Boyd section, we had the Hall section, and then we had the Noble section, also called the Taco Bell jump because of the colorful rug, and it's on a border. Just run to the border. I don't think they use that anymore. I wonder if that's cringy.
I think that's probably, they probably can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
Because the border's too hard to climb over the wall. It's just weird.
Well done. So anyway, so we have those things. So let's talk about, we called that line the Firm because it was like Boyd Hall Nobles. And so it just had this nice little thing. So we ended up calling it the Firm. It's probably our most technically challenging, arguably one of the funnest lines there. And if you do the full Firm, if you go through the lawsuit, which is where you hit the bottom onto another trail that Jake had previously built, you are gassed. It is hard as crap. I think Kevin says the full length of it is his favorite line. Yeah. And Kevin rides a lot of enduro, is why I take that as a compliment. Let's talk about it. So talk a little bit about up top, because it's a little bit different kind of scenario than we've seen before.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've built, since we now have dirt, we can build berms faster. So what we did was we kind of built a launch berm into a couple tricky little turns that you have to control speed. But we built a tabletop there's a video on YouTube of the building of the tabletop. And the tabletop offers something where you're not launching this tabletop. You're using it as you kind of like press through it. It's kind of cool. It teaches you a little technical skill to get into another berm.
Right.
So like you press down through it to get into another. You can jump it, yeah, but you have to be careful, weary through the berm.
Right.
So you're hitting the berm. So you bust through the berm, and then there's some sketchy trees you got to kind of dodge, but it's part of the trail. I think now it's like I wouldn't know what to do if those trees weren't there.
Yeah, we cut one of them down, but the other ones that remain, they still steer you correctly.
Right, yeah, you just need steered correct. Well, then that launches you into a section where it's you choose how you want to ride it. So there's like a hump, in street riding or like skate park riding, it's called a hip.
Yeah.
But in mountain biking, a hip is different. So this is a hip jump, so it kind of goes up and straight back down. And we didn't build it. It was just a natural thing that was there. So you go up it, and you can either choose to launch it, and you're going to land a flat about 4 foot down. Or you can just go up and press down over it and use your speed for another little bump that's coming up that's probably like a 2 foot bump that launches you into a very tight tree.
Yeah, it's like two toothpicks. Yeah. I mean, you've got to land it. If you jump that far, you're really risking bar collision. But it's fun.
Yeah, but when you hit it just right and you feel those trees go by you at 15 mile an hour, it's like, whew. Yeah. And then you're in a couple little tricky sections and another little hump that pushes you right out into the rock garden, which is awesome.
And so then the rock garden picks up the Hall side of things. And just to say, the Boyd side of stuff is to say it's challenging is true. To say it's still rideable for anyone is also true.
Right, yeah.
But it is literally one of those trails where, like, at any given moment, like I hooked off. I learned that for me in the race line of it, if I would go over that hip that you're referring to, if I would go over it just enough to get my back wheels off the ground and then press, I would get a nice compression boost, and then the next jump I would hit. So I wouldn't totally huck the flat, but I wasn't just totally pushed down. But if I missed it, the first run, the kids didn't have the camera on. I came over the top and I endoed. I'm just rolling front wheel until I pull myself back down. Like I went way too aggressive.
It's scary.
It is, and so it would hurt. That would be a. But even we had guys out there that have never ridden it that were all over it, no problem. You can go through it. Once you get through the Boyd stuff and you hit the rock garden, Christabel, shout out to Christabel, who will be important later in the story when we talk about this stuff. But Christabel had wanted a rock garden, and so we built one on Woman. Sorry, I keep calling it Mother Truckers the long lane, but on Woman, we built a rock garden there that was very easy, kind of competitive, or not competitive. And then this one we want to make it a little bit harder. And so now that we're done with this, I'm going to go add more rocks, so it'll get even harder. So the purpose of this trail is to keep making it more aggressive. There's no beeline on this trail. It is a full like enduro race trail or enduro style trail. And so we built that rock garden. I placed all the rocks by hand, moved them down there with a wheelbarrow. It sucked. They were not reacquired. We found them fairly. We didn't have to reacquire them from somewhere. And then we figured out we needed berms, and so we built these 2 different berms. You can use them or not on the race line. I don't think you used them. I don't think any of those guys used them. No. The race guys. Some of us did. Like I used them just because I had gotten in the habit of hitting them, and so I just needed to hit them over and over again to keep my. Got to turn my phone to silent. Sorry. Got to keep my rhythm going. So I kept mine in play, but you didn't have to. They're fun, and that takes you through just a speed line. Eventually, they'll be more developed there, I imagine. Yeah. But you were just hauling as much ass as humanly possible, and then we get to that jump, and you want to talk through that because the Taco Bell jump, the run to the border jump is interesting because we have 2 iterations of it that occurred.
Yeah. So the first iteration, it was kind of a bigger gap, right? I think it was a bigger gap. So it's kind of intimidating looking. It's only a 3-foot tall wooden. It's not even. We don't build lip jumps at the Reb. They're kind of just ride-off jumps, but they still launch you.
Right.
So, and you can pull up on them. So there's nothing that's going to compress you and kick you awkwardly. So you can pull up and get even higher or go further if you want. But this jump had a gap in it, and at first everybody was like fine with hitting it because the gap didn't have the landing didn't have a large lip on it.
Yeah, there's very little causality or a danger on the backside.
Yeah, there was a low consequence.
Low consequence
double, or So then we added dirt, and that's when the rug came. And the dirt just made it wider, the landing wider, and it brought it up a little bit, probably a foot maybe. So now there is a gap. So you have to clear the gap. So that adds a whole other element to it, which is I think it's great. And the opportunity, though, the landing isn't just flat on with the jump. It's kind of flat and curves around on the left side against some trees. So, like, a lot of times when I'm riding, I'll hit it and whip over to the left. So my back wheel lands like this, front wheel lands straight. And it's really fun. It's like a cool jump, but I think that it'll be a great jump because the run-in is straight. The landing is the consequence after it. There's no trees. Oh, sorry, I know that's loud on the. There's no consequence because the trees are kind of spread apart. Right. So you're not. There's no. This will be a great jump for people to progress. It'll be a great progression jump.
Well, we saw it. Like anybody that landed that stuff was like super excited about it. You could see it, and they even on day of, there's guys that never hit it before. Clayton had never hit it before, new Red member, and so he came out and hit it, and he did it. He got towed in, and then he was good with it. But it's one of those things of like getting over the fear to get it, getting towed in to hit it.
Well, and the beeline is a tabletop itself, too.
Correct.
So we made the landing have a little lip, so it has a tabletop too.
Right.
So it's. I think it's fun. I think it'll be a great way for people to get better. And the firm itself is not only a progression of us as riders or the Reb members as riders, but it's a progression of what we can do as trail builders.
100%.
Because if you look at that compared to some of the other trails, it's like, man, that trail is gnarly. Like we pushed it to its max limit this weekend. I think that we figured out how fast you could possibly go on it. I don't know that there's anywhere you could go faster. And
the other takeaway too is like I going back and not knocking them at all. Right. It's still a very fun, fast trail, but you go ride like Birdie, for example, and it's so flowy. You're like, oh, this is a great green line.
Yeah, right.
It's just a great green line.
At one time, that was our fastest.
Right, and now it's a totally different beast.
Yeah.
Because again, as we've talked about on the show, we're progressing not just as riders, but as Dale just said, as trail builders, because that's what we're doing too. Look, we can make all the mistakes we want. Yeah. We're not penalizing anyone. No one's getting penalized. Like we make sure they're not dangerous for breaking arms and legs. In fairness to Pooh, to Jakey Pooh, he is pretty seasoned. You're pretty seasoned, but he can look at stuff and be like, yeah, just do this. And I've taken his advice, like do this and do this.
Well, the tabletop was his advice. Remember we were standing there and he's like, we should build the jump back there. I'm like, dude, what? Like, where are we jumping? And then we did it, and it was like, okay.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that maybe the behind the scenes of the trail building that no one sees is we don't just build the trail and then we're like, oh, it's done. Let's go ride it. We build the trail, and that's the rough draft, basically.
Right.
And then we get our other, it's usually you and Jakey Poo and I, and like we'll walk it together or we'll ride it together and be like, yeah, this feels better this way, or this feels better that way. And then all of a sudden it's done. But I mean, that trail took a long time. I mean, it's taken months.
Yeah, and my point in bringing that up, the reason I wanted to talk about that little portion of it is the fact that we are simply in those woods a tremendous amount of time. Right, we are there for a very long time. I not even in the training phase of getting ready to race. I think building that we started that trail I think in November, early November. So for us, and that's the only trail we worked on, minus you and I taking a little break here and there after we finished it. But like we worked that trail a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And I sacrificed like my training. I didn't ride out there.
Yeah.
I just went out there and worked a lot.
Yeah.
And
it was
then
a
if
time.
I rode, it was a 2 mile after I was done, tired. Right. Let's see what I got.
It was a let's go ride something we built. So we went through all that, and I bring that up to say, in that all the time we've been out there, right? We've had some weird stuff, but nothing could even compare to the Saturday before that race.
I always miss the good shit.
in which Christabel and I encountered, literally, I'll tell the story best I can because we promised that's what we would do. But we ended up in a scenario that was just bizarre. But before I get to that, I just want to go over some of the other weird ones. I'm going to keep people hanging just a little bit.
Well,
longer.
The funny thing was about that story is Sunday he was talking to somebody. I think you were telling Bug about it, and I walked up. I was like, no, hold on. Drew is contractually obligated to no longer tell this story until the podcast comes out.
It's a podcast only. I even told people that asked me on like through messengers and stuff on Facebook because I just posted a little random thing because I had to be real it. I couldn't be real the guy. I couldn't be real the cops. That's not necessarily appropriate, but at least to me. But
they have a show called Cops. They like being on camera.
Yeah. Don't you have a brother that's a cop?
Yeah, but he's an asshole.
Okay, well, shout out. What are some of the other weird things that you've seen? Have you seen stuff on your time? Have you seen anything? I mean, you could talk about. I mean, I guess you could talk about the guy because we now know that maybe it's related.
Yeah, that actually, maybe. I mean, that might have been the weirdest, but probably, maybe. Anyway, so I show up at the Rebellion last year. We had one trail basically.
Yeah.
We were cutting a lot of trails, and it was in the right when we got the property. So I was out there by myself. It
was a weekday.
It was a weekday. It was like a Wednesday morning or something.
Yeah.
I had my backpack on, put my headphones on, and I go to walk down the trail, and I look up in the bug rug. There's a person on his knees praying to the rug. I assume praying. I don't know. He was on his knees facing the jump, rocking back and forth for a long time.
Right.
And I just like slowly backed out of I was 15 feet from him. So I he never heard me. So I backed out of the woods and was like calling Drew. I'm calling I ended up calling the Department of Natural Resources or whatever it was. It was there, the Alabama Wildlife.
Yeah.
They had been there the weekend before for some poachers.
Yep.
And so I called the card number, and the guy was like, well, listen, man, like it's pretty cold out today. And if he wants to be out there, he's probably just crazy. He's like, I'm on the other side of the county. He goes, if you want, I can try to come over. I was like, nah, man, I just wanted to let you know, like, maybe this is the poacher. I don't know. I had no idea.
Right.
But nonetheless, I watched the guy for like a half hour, who's creepier, him or I?
Yeah. Well,
he never saw me. And then he finally just got up and walked down the trail. And so I was like, man, it was so weird.
Right.
But that was definitely pretty weird.
It was a strange thing, especially because there's video of it. I think it's in front of
I'm the weirdo.
Yeah. If you look at the bug rug video on our YouTube channel, where we talk about it, that you literally see the video of that dude sitting there, and it is freaky deaky. However, I that one threw me off. That one would have creeped me out. Yeah. But one day we were riding at Blakely, which is a state park area here. It's more general XC stuff. And we're riding over at Blakely, and I was with my buddy who had just bought a bike, and we're not even hauling ass. Like, he's a slower rider. And we ride by, and I put my foot down because I was like, do you need a brake? And he's like, yeah. And I start to put my foot down, and he goes, snake, snake. And I just roll forward. And sure enough, There is a, it looked like moccasin, which is all up in that area,
Yeah.
is literally right by my foot. Like, I would have stepped on it, probably got bit, probably a bad day
I
for
would
me.
have KOM'd
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, I would have KO'd the moccasin bite death dance. And so that happens. And the only reason I bring that up is because about 30 minutes later, we're riding through that exact same area. And I come across this dude just laying it into this lady. I mean, he is just hammering it. Like, I'm talking about like Pornhub style. And she's like on her back, legs over her head style. I mean, they are just going at it. And I roll by and they kind of start moving. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up. There was a snake over there. And I was like, not yours, but there was a snake over there earlier. You might want to be careful about it. And then my buddy rolls by and he just like, the dude just lays there on top of the woman, trying to shield her, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing. And then they stand up and they're getting redressed. And they're just staring at us and almost like Sasquatch in the woods. And they just kind of like walk away. And we were back by the parking lot at this point. It was an odd occurrence. And it threw me off. And it was one of those ones where I was like, I don't know how this worked out so well.
Well, maybe, just maybe, you should have let the guy finish.
I mean, just sit there and watch from a corner. Says the guy who watches.
Yeah, I've recorded my creepy thing. You got to record it. It's
I know,
better.
but I don't carry a phone when I ride anymore. I guess I'm going to have to start. I may have to start carrying a phone. I do when I'm out there by myself.
At this point, a phone is more valuable than a gun.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the lawsuit side.
Right.
So what we encountered, though, on the Saturday before the race, which would have been December 3rd. Is that right?
Yeah.
2nd? Yeah, 3rd. December 3rd was Christabel.
But wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the more we've learned about the guy that was praying,
Yeah.
the more he was probably praying for our safety, to be honest.
Oh, he could be.
He could have been praying for our
He could have been.
Yeah.
Until Saturday.
This. Okay.
So we've seen this guy. I'll be honest with you. There's a guy that walks around, the bug rug guy. We think we know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And in fairness to set this up, I've seen him a few times. He will sneak up on you, not maliciously. He's just walking down the trail. He's just very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't make a lot of sounds. When you speak to him, he has like, not a stutter, but he has like a delayed response, sort of like his brain is processing it maybe a little bit differently or slowly or
To be fair,
whatever.
He lives out there.
I don't know if he lives
Allegedly.
out there. Allegedly. We had found a voodoo shrine. We now confirmed that is his little shrine with those tall Catholic candles.
Yeah, it's still
weird.
Not any less creepy.
Right. And nobody goes near it. Like, y'all went up there one time and
I videoed it for her pleasure.
you broke your bike. Every time you ride out there, you break a bike. You see what you've done?
Or it's better than an arm.
That's fair enough. Shout out to Nina. So as we were, I mean, look, she listens to the show. If she can't have fun with us,
I
then,
know.
and she's part of the fam, she's got to be in
That's
the game.
right.
So as Chris was like going, so anyway, we got out there. We've seen this guy before, but as Chris has not seen him as much as me. I'm out there by myself all the time, and I see him and I wave to him or I acknowledge him. Normally, he just
seen
doesn't
him
say
before,
anything. Yeah, he carries his gray blanket, whatever. So Chris comes up the mountain. I can't find Chris, and he comes up to the top of the hill, and he's like, "Dude," I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "There's a guy down there that says he needs bolt cutters," and I was like, "What?" And I think it was like 2 weeks ago. You found, didn't you find like a trail camera on a tree?
Yeah. With
Yeah.
some honey with like corn around it.
Right. And it wasn't on our property. It was a little further away. But I thought maybe
Yeah.
it was the hunter coming to get his trail cam and he forgot it. And I was like, oh, this all makes sense. So, but to be safe, I go to my truck, I get my gun, I chamber around. I mean, I did the whole thing. Chris is not a big gun guy, I don't think. And so I was being extra cautious to explain things to him in fairness. So we ride down there together, and Chris is going to stay back a little bit. And we have like a little plan. And so as I walk up on this dude, I walk up on this guy, and he, what he told Chris, let me set this up. What he told Chris is that he was out there looking for something from his friend, and he just needed bolt cutters. That's what Chris relayed to me. So that's what I know of the story. When I walk up on the guy, I see him. I was like, oh, hey, I know you. It was both the bug rug prayer guy,
And the sleeping
the
on the
voodoo
trail
guy, and the sneaky trail walker guy.
Yeah.
all the same.
And he slept on the trail when we were riding once.
That's right. He was on the trail when you were right. And I saw his gray. He always has his gray blanket with something wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't. That's his journey, not
It's an
mine.
effigy.
All right. Jeez. It's probably gonna be a head.
Oh god.
It's gonna be like Psycho.
Let's just make it up. We can.
Yeah,
it
we
can
should.
be
We
whatever we
could.
want it to be.
So as we're sitting there, I see that, and I see him, and I acknowledge him. So I know he's not a major threat. Like, this guy just doesn't give off any sort of threatening vibes. And he lifts up his right hand, and he is handcuffed to a chain which is wrapped around a tree. So his left hand is free, but his right hand is completely handcuffed to a tree, and his hand is mildly purple. Not bad, but you could tell it was cutting. And of course, I'm like, what happened? Like, the first thing out of my mouth, he's like, oh, well, my friend thought it would be funny. And then we got into an argument, and then he left me here. And it's real incoherent, but it was coherent enough for this guy. Like, that's just how he speaks.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so what were you doing? Like, why are you chained to a tree? And he was like, well, I got in a fight with him because we were arguing about the Bible, and he chained me to a tree.
Well, did he tell you that his friend's name is Drop Dead Fred?
Yes, that's exactly what I was. So I don't know. I'm like, okay, bro. All right. So the tree was big enough I could chop the tree and get him free. However, I was further enough away, but I could tell those weren't play handcuffs. They were legit handcuffs. I don't know how I'm going to get you out of this handcuff situation. And so I said, listen, man, I got to call the police. They got to come down here. They'll get you out of this. I just don't want to leave you here just for your own safety and benefit. Because listen, also, I'm not going to get sued by somebody for whatever.
He could say you chained him.
Yeah. I'm not. Right. I'm going to cover my ass. So we call the cops, and while we're on the phone with the operator, I did dial 911 because I didn't have presence of mind just to call the non-emergency number. I called 911.
Kind of emergent. Dude he could have got chained up by a legit person.
Well, I don't know. He's just apologizing a lot. He's like, listen, I'm really sorry about this. If you just have some bolt cutters. I was like, I don't have any bolt cutters. That chain, by the way, was like legit big chain.
Well, we know who didn't steal our stuff because he doesn't have bolt cutters.
Yeah, I don't think it's him.
No, it's definitely not
Unless this whole thing is just like he's a mad genius and he's just messing with us. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. So anyway, so I'm on the phone with them, and I'm on the phone with the operator. And she's like, "What?" I'm trying to describe it to her. I was like, "Well, hi, I have an emergency. I've just found a gentleman chained to a tree." And she was like, "Do what now?"
Come again, sir. It's 8 a.m.
I was like, "There's a man chained to a tree. He has one hand free. I've offered him food and water, like a dog. I mean, I don't know what else to do." So I'm on the phone with her, and I was like, "But I don't think he's protesting anything."
It was Occupy the Parks.
It's Occupy the Parks. At one point, he's like, well, my buddy just knew that mountain bikers would come by and help me. And I'm like, okay, weirdness number 2.
Yeah.
Like, where'd that come from? Like, why'd you say that out of the blue? Mm-hmm. And so she's like, okay, I've got to transfer you to the police. I was like, yeah, that's great. That's what we're looking for. We got to get him out of these handcuffs. So she puts me on the phone with the police. Now I'm on the phone with the police operator. I have to explain the whole thing again. And the lady's like, do what now? The exact same. It's like, no one believes me. I was like, no, I have a man handcuffed to a tree, chained and handcuffed to a tree. He's not protesting anything. And then I couldn't help myself. Chris heard it. So this is all real. I was like, excuse me, Brett. That's his name. We found out. Brett, are you a werewolf? And Brett's like, no, I'm not a werewolf. Just like that.
All of a sudden he's normal and he wants to fight you. Come on, bro.
Well, you almost sound like Napoleon Dynamite. Just more like, gosh, I'm not a werewolf. And so next thing you know, she starts laughing. I give her the stuff, and then we have to get the police there. Well, he was so deep inside of the bike park area. Yeah. There's no accessible roads. Vehicles can't get to where. I mean, they could, but it would be a nightmare.
No
and
way.
Certainly if they're in a cruiser.
City property for that.
Right. Exactly right. And so eventually they have to meet us at the top of the hill. We have to drive them in. They find the wrong location. It was a whole fiasco. And luckily they showed up. They walked down there with us. And sure enough, they're trying with their handcuff key. Here's Brett. He explains it. Now, I set up to say he had that gray little bag gimmick. It was gone, but there was a mound behind him. So he had clearly covered up whatever was in this gray thing. He did not want the police to see it. And he always has that with him. Yeah. And that's going to be the weirdness of this story. I'm just giving you this, and I'm going to do it like movie style, right? So as he's sitting there, they can't get the keys to work. So eventually, of course, Joey Pants is there. Joey Pants always has a stupid Sawzall for some reason. I mean, God love him. I'm glad he has one. So now we go get the Sawzall and an axe, and we basically chop the tree and get his at least the chain off around the tree, the way it was wrapped up. Because again, it wasn't a big tree.
Which is way awkward. The dude's chained to the tree. How trusting is he of everyone?
Oh, yeah.
There's a hatchet and a
It's wacky.
a sawzall.
There's two cops that are battle rattled. I mean, they're in like, because the 4th precinct is kind of a, let's be honest, we're not in the world's best neighborhood.
No.
And so they're battle
We're in
rattled.
a neighborhood where people could potentially be chained to trees.
That is correct. The other thing that was odd about this was that he told them and me that he had been there since 5 p.m. on Friday. Well, I was there at 5 p.m. on Friday, about 4:50, and I didn't see him. So he could have come in the back way, which he does a lot. He has his own path to get through there, but I didn't see him up. Normally, he walks up our road, but I didn't see him in there.
And also, didn't you say it rained all Friday
It had
night,
rained,
and he wasn't wet?
He was not wet. He was also not covered in any kind of pine straw, and you're in a pine forest. Like, it was one of those things. So as they get him free, they take him up top. I noticed that his bag's not there. I even said something. I was like, hey, man, where's your stuff? And he's like, and I was like, oh, great. Well, I'm not going to rat him out. Like, that's his problem.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be that kind of dude. I did some stupid stuff when I was young, too. But he's not young. Anyway. They take him up top. They run his name, no problem, right? They finally get the handcuffs off. They turn to him. I'm joking you. The guy's like, hey, man, do you want your chain? He's like, God, no, I never want to see that again. And he starts walking down the road. And so we've kept the chain.
Right. Well, naturally.
Appropriately to be named a new trail called Werewolf.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
There's probably going to be multiple chain trails.
Oh, I'm sure. It's just
chain
gonna be,
gang, all kinds of stuff.
It'll be terrible.
Whipping post, all kinds of things.
So we finally get him on his way. And here's where the stuff's, Dale pointed out one. It was very odd that he was not wet. Right. It was very odd that he brought up that mountain bikers were going to save him. It was also very odd to us that he had no pine straw or anything else on him, and that his wrist was just now turning kind of purple. Right. If he had been chained up there for a while, it would have gotten worse. Right. And so it was a very strange, I don't know what to believe kind of moment. But then something occurred to Joey that I didn't think about. Earlier that week, Joey and I had done a beer run. Now, a beer run at the Reb is this 2-mile loop that we take that goes by the Voodoo Hut. We don't get super near it, but it's on like the back side of this park, and you go by this Voodoo Hut. Ooh.
No.
We didn't, right?
No.
You go by the... You sure?
No, I'm sure.
Okay. We go by this Voodoo Hut, and you go by there, and...
Unless they know where the Voodoo Hut is, and then they got more problems than us.
Fair enough. And so when we did, we saw Brett. He was doing whatever he does, but he'd set down his gray little knapsacky thing. But inside of it, Joey pointed out, and I remember it. Joey said, he was like, man, look at that big piece of chain. I wonder if he's got that to defend himself. And so me and Joey Bear are like, oh, okay. Like maybe.
Well, maybe this too. And maybe he had seen us riding by so many times, the only way he could get our attention to stop was if he was in distress.
Maybe.
Like, we've never stopped to talk to him.
I do when on the trail.
I'll wave to him, and like when I'm working, I'll say hi or whatever when he walks by. But maybe it was like an attention grab thing. I don't know.
But Joey saw the chain. But then, to add even further confusion, Todd Hall was on his way out. So here comes Todd Hall. And he's on his way out, and he gets to the top of the hill. And right about the time he's getting out of his car, we're rolling up on the bikes after having done a practice run at this point. Me and Chris decided to keep riding afterwards. Right. And so we get up to the top, and Todd's like, wait. Don't say a word. And we're like, okay. So Todd goes, I saw Brett, or this guy, they didn't know his name. I'm just naming him now. I saw Brett, if that's his name. I saw Brett walking away, and there were 3 cop cars, and I tried to stop the cops and wave at them, but they just drove on by. So I asked Brett, I was like, are the cops up there harassing you and like hassling you? Because sometimes the problem we run into is some people are more sensitive to fear than others, and like if I see someone walking on property, I'm not going to flip out.
Right.
Other people have in the past. And so Todd thought maybe that's what had happened. They called the cops. He's like, no, man. So Brett is saying this. Crazy story. 2 guys up there got into a fight, and one of them got left chained to a tree. And Todd's like, what? And he's like, yeah, it was crazy. And so they had to call the cops to save the one guy who was chained to a tree. Brett walks off.
Yeah.
So Todd comes up and tells us that. And Todd, of course, is highly intelligent. He's like, so that guy was chained to a tree? And I was like, yes, he was chained to a tree. We have the chain right here. So the whole time, like, no one knows the scenario. No one knows what happened. But literally, we found a human being chained to a tree. that we believe put himself there.
Yeah.
I think for attention or something.
Or maybe he could legitimately be schizophrenic.
That's what I actually think.
Multiple personalities, and we are not like we laughed through this story. We are not making fun of
No.
mental health issues.
The reason I called the police and did all this stuff is like I wanted to make sure for his own benefit. There was, and even if he did have drugs and they found that stuff, I wasn't doing it to put him in jail. I was doing it to put the guy in some level of recovery. Like if he needed something, he needed help.
I mean, to be fair, like we all have a certain amount of mental health issues.
Sure.
That's why we mountain bike. We've learned how to deal with it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, like, we know mental health is a huge issue in the country. So,
well, oddly, what the Reb does for us probably does the same thing for him. He's just been
lives
out there longer.
Yeah. And I honestly don't think he lives out there.
Because he lives around the corner. They ran his name.
Okay, so, but he's out there because that's where he goes to be all three people that he is.
Which is entirely possible.
Yeah, because when he's not out there at night. I haven't seen. We aren't out there at night very often.
Well, now Matthew tells a different tale. Matthew's we called Matthew and Ellen the caretakers. Yeah. They walk the property a lot.
Oh,
they
is
live
he
in
out
the
there at
neighborhood.
night?
Well, that's who he said was the dancing around the fire.
Oh well, yeah. I mean I'm not that surprised about that.
We've never seen that. We can't confirm.
To be fair, we were dancing around a fire Sunday night. So if he has binoculars, sorry, Matthew. Yeah. Apologies.
There's a terrible story that came out of that, which was that, we hear gunfire out there a good bit.
Yeah, a lot bit.
And then Matthew was like, I don't know what it was the other day, but there was an awful lot of gunfire. I didn't know. I thought you shot one or two shots. And then I roll up there and there's a pile of shotgun shells where someone,
we couldn't get the tree stump out,
shot a tree stump out. And meanwhile, Matthew was just like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. I knew what it was, but I'm not going to rat us out.
I mean, the amount of nefarious things that go on that woods, a few shotgun shells into a tree stump is minimal.
I mean, who knows? So that's hands down. If you found anything weirder than a man chained to a tree, let us know. Because
I would like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much Bizarro City, USA. We have no idea what happened. And again, we were genuinely concerned. We laughed about the werewolf thing. I was trying to break tension.
Right.
Because it is an awkwardly weird circumstance. But we brought him water. I brought him snacks. I made sure that he was taken care of. I also let him know, like, I wasn't going to let the police harass him. Luckily, they were excellent officers. They were very friendly.
Yeah, they dealt with werewolves before.
Apparently. I told him that, and they started laughing. They're like, talking about silver bullets. I was like, you ain't going to get them?
No, I said we should be careful with that guy because he actually has all of our personalities of Reb members.
Right.
And he's like absorbing it through our trail building.
Right.
And so like now he's our mascot.
Well, he's a totem.
No, he is. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
He's like a representation of multiple.
The thing about it is amazing is the homeless problem in Mobile is amazing. And it's a problem in the United States, really. And I get it. It's not cheap to live in a house.
Right.
But it's surprising we only have one person in those woods.
Right.
To be honest. And there hasn't been traces of anybody else ever being there.
No, now we think that pretty much every time we've had those weird occurrences with someone at a distance or whatever, it's been him. Because we've seen...
Or the mushrooms.
I've seen the both sets of four-wheel riders. There's
cool.
Two young kids and they're great and they're good boys. And then there's some older dudes that ride. And again, they're just us on four-wheelers.
Right.
And so they're like, hey, bro. And they just ride by and they're strapped and they do their thing. I don't blame them. I'm strapped out there too all the time. And then you have Matthew and Ellen. So like everybody we've seen, I don't think it's anything in that way.
To be fair, there's not a ton of murderous people just wandering around the streets.
We're like the third highest murder rate in the United States.
Trying to make it okay.
Make it positive. Mobile, Alabama is your biking destination for weird shit.
Yes, there you go. Come on down and check it out. Might even stop by a dirty Santa Dura if you want. Yeah.
Come ride the death trail. 7 people murdered here this week.
But we're doing great. We're doing fine. Everything's good. We're moving right in the right path. It's going to be bigger and better than anything we've ever done.
Boyd, sports management. So weirdest thing, if you have anything that can top that, we'd love for you to try, even if you make up a good story.
Yeah, and if you do, I know a good filmmaker. We can
recreate it. Unsolved Mystery style with like a really bad cast.
Oh, dude, with Smoke Machine, William Shatner.
That's Rescue 911, and I in fact said they were like, well, I don't even know how we get if this guy needs medical care. I don't know how we're gonna get an ambulance down here. I was like, ooh, on the next episode of Rescue 911.
Oh man,
couldn't help it.
It wasn't
the circumstance is weird.
It is super weird. which comes to.
But Brett's okay. We saw him again.
No, he's fine.
He's on the day of the race. He was back out there walking around. Kevin was like, gave him a heads up, like, hey, bro, you know, there was this race happening.
Oh, he was just down to retrieve his things, I bet.
Yeah, he needed his meth back. I think he doesn't do meth. He's not energized. I think it's heroin.
I don't know.
I think he's a black tar guy.
I don't think it's drugs. I just think he's
schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Or multi-personality. Something. Yeah. There's something there he's dealing with. All right. Well, that's the crazy for this show.
Well,
is that a bad segue?
Yep. No, because there's always crazy going on.
Yeah, fair enough. As always. Oh, wait.
No, wait. We didn't even talk about the Dirty Santa.
Go for it.
Well,
we set it up.
We did. That was I was trying to segue when I said like you could come for the Dirty Santa.
Oh, I should have picked up on it. I'm sorry. That's bad on me.
I don't pick up on anything.
Drop it like it's hot.
All right, so we had the race and it was amazing.
It's fantastic.
We had most of our Red members that were there. Everybody that was able, that wasn't working or out of town, which was awesome. So I think we had 20 some people that said they were coming.
Yeah.
We ended up with what, 17, 16?
No, it was like 18.
Was it 18? Okay.
Yeah. There's only like 2 that no showed.
Okay, yeah. So 18. But we had some people that we invited that weren't Red members that have decided to become Red members because they felt the
came
energy.
to Dirt Church.
They felt they came to Dirt Church and they got saved. They got saved, my brother. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So they sang
but
Kumbaya.
not like Hulk Hogan.
They sang Kumbaya around the fire with us.
Yeah, fair enough.
So anyway, they were baptized by fire, and they decided that they felt the energy from the community.
Right.
It's not they felt the energy from us as a whole, as a group. There's so much laughter and so much like fun. And I think that the Reb is developing the whole area.
Right.
Because now we've taken that energy and we do it on Friday nights.
Right.
You know, there's new people that come on Friday nights that now they're energized.
Oh, yeah. But there's new people from Friday nights that are now like Red members. Like Kieran was a Friday night rider guy.
And
like,
Paul decided like he didn't want to at first, but now he's like a long travel bike and I'm joining the Reb.
Yeah.
You know,
he did get a new bike.
Yeah.
Shout out to Paul.
A beautiful new bike.
God. His new pivot is sick.
It's beautiful. So that is what was awesome. So anyway, that's the energy that I feel when I'm there.
Yep.
The race is just a byproduct of being there and enjoying. And actually, the other thing is like all the hard work we put into the race and the trails and preparing it, and then seeing the happiness that they're getting from the race and the trails and what we've done.
Look, I liken it to, it's the same way as being a filmmaker or being a chef, is that you have this recipe or you have this script, and then you work really hard to get it ready. And then the day comes where you're either plating that food, right? You're serving that food, or you're making that movie. And now all of a sudden, all that work, people enjoy it. I'm telling you, that feeling is I wanted to film more, but I was having too much fun racing, and I was having too much fun hanging out,
right?
You know, like
and
being
I think
with people.
What we did was we used that adage of like, you're not going to watch it again, just enjoy the time.
Yeah.
So we literally I gave my kids the GoPros, so all the footage that you see is either from us having our phone or my kids with a GoPro.
Yeah, that's why there's not a ton. Like I was at the front of the race, so there's very little of any front half of the racers because most of us were flying down and then we were on our way back up. And so we would stop and film the back half. Right. So you get a lot more back half of the race than you do the front, except for the speedsties because you guys were at the very end, which was something new we introduced on this particular race that worked out really well too.
Yeah, because we had so many racers doing the consistency thing. Yep. We were like, we'll be here for hours.
Yeah.
3 runs for each one of them. So, and I'm going to go fast whether it's for consistency or not. So I've proposed, maybe we came to a mutual agreement on it. Let's offer a speed race just like a regular enduro race, but let's do it a little different where we go first and then we qualify, and then the whole consistency crowd goes, and then we go again at the end, and that's the run that counts.
Right.
And you run worst to first in qualifying.
Right.
And that was fun because there was energy for us going super fast at the beginning.
Yep.
And then everybody does the consistency stuff, which we help time. So the speed guys did the timing. And then we go fast at the end. So then they're all cheering and laughing and watching us try to
because you've had the consistency stuff. By the time that you guys have gone, that stage, you almost know the stage winner.
Right.
So the energy is up because you're going through the third. And then the energy stays up because now here comes. So the consistency winner is pretty much there. You have an idea of the top 5. Right. And then here come the fast guys, and you don't know what's about to happen. No. And I mean, it was literally down to seconds on like some of those stages where, like, not seconds, but milliseconds on some of those stages where it was just nuts type stuff.
Yeah. So and the course changed, right? So think about it, that's 16 times 3 runs, you know, so that's a lot of people that changed the course.
Yep.
So that's what we talked about. Like the three of us decided to do the speed, me, myself, Kevin, and Jacob.
Right.
So we would sit there and talk. We're like, dude, it's going to be all changed. Like there's going to be rutted out spots that weren't, but it's like a UCI event, you know, like the last person has to worry. So that was a really fun, for us, it was really fun. It was also fun because we take out that one extra run where we didn't have to press our luck 3 times going fast.
Right.
You know, it was like, oh, I only have to do this one more time as fast as I can go.
And there was a break in between to give you guys but which then benefited the timing side of things. I mean, it's just a much better system, and I think we're going to adopt going forward. Not always, but I think if we have the numbers, the turnout, we can be like, hey, open up the speed category.
And I think it also, just because we are a progression place, that's what we've built this on, is like progressing as riders and people. It gives people the ability to, I've been doing the consistency thing, I would love to see how I compare in the speed stuff. Oh, I want to jump over and do the speed this time, because if I want to go to a race in North Alabama that is an enduro race, it's just speed.
Right.
So that's a great way for you to build your confidence and go, and then you can do it, because you can do it even if you're not going to win. Like I didn't win, but I love doing it.
Oh yeah.
And so like you can do it if you're not going to win, because you can feel what that feels like to be racing against somebody, you know?
Yeah.
And that's because I mean, the consistency is a beautiful format and it works really well, but you're not racing anybody but yourself.
Yeah. The interesting side of that it comes out though, is that like for me, I can't throttle myself.
No one can.
Yeah.
Everybody wants.
And so everyone ends up pushing themselves to a little bit more, some more than others. But what's fascinating is versus like, so if I look at the speed thing, if we continued that path, you'd still have to have a category system if you wanted to even the playing field, right? I am not quite to y'all's level. I was with you on stage 1. I was right in the mix. In fact, I think I was faster on your quali, but then you blew me out on your other one. Yeah. But then like, and I was faster than Jake too. I was second fastest on the qualis. Yeah. But like, then you got the next stage, I'm even kind of in the mix. I'm within a second of you guys. Yeah. The third stage, I was like 4 to 5 seconds. There's no way and I was pushing as hard as I could at that point, right? So I think it's interesting. You'd have to make another category. Like maybe I'm top of the stage 1 guys, but whatever. But the thing about the consistency is our first place winner is John Mackey, who was just consistent. Well, his times were not even close to mine. No. And he beat me by 0.01. It was like 2.25 to 2.6, 0.25 to 0.26. And so John beat me by that. I was fastest overall in that consistency group. That doesn't mean anything if my times were off. And then third place went to Kerry, which was a tie. Yeah. And they weren't necessarily the 2 slowest on the clock, but it consistently went it out. And it is not, there's no bias in this racing format. No. Gender. That's what's great. Right? Yeah. It doesn't matter what skill level or gender, e-bike. Right. Everybody can ride it. And so that's what makes it fully competitive. Right. And so that's kind of an interesting model, but it is fun to have that extra little bit of like, okay, I'm going to work up for the speed race. Right. And so it's something to bring in. So I think what we're going to end up seeing over the future in our development of these and expanding this system is the consistency will always be the belt. We've always talked about that.
The consistency is our premier race.
That's right.
Like, that's what we want it to be.
Right.
We don't care who goes the fastest.
Right.
Like, it really doesn't matter.
Because we're there, because all those people having fun on an equal playing field is so great.
But the for them to get to see Kevin go that fast.
Oh, yeah. It's motivating.
Yeah, it is motivating, because it's like, wow, it's possible. Yeah. It's not impossible.
Right. I think Kevin is younger than Kerry.
Yeah, but he's around 50.
Yeah. He's right around the same bracket. So it's like, that's motivating as shit to me.
He likes pain, though.
He's that guy. He's got a few sleeves.
I was happy. I was only 4 seconds behind him.
Yeah, I mean, he was fast. Y'all don't. I mean, the videos don't even do justice.
No.
You can't even.
It's crazy.
Y'all were going so fast. Yeah. And then like when you saw him in order, like, because even Pooh is fast. Yeah. Jakey is fast. And when all y'all were on point, but then when that one hit, woof, it is nuts.
Yeah, it's fast.
That last stage especially.
Yeah, he beat me by 3 seconds on the last one.
Yeah, he was quick.
Which is where I lost.
Yeah. And then the only other thing we did that was interesting inside of that to make it ours is we did allow, they couldn't drop them afterwards, but at the end of each stage, so they had their quali and they had their run. Mm-hmm. At the end of each stage, they could those racers could elect to drop their time just
Right.
one time per the entire race.
Yeah,
So they couldn't do it. They had to make the decision like a gamble, and you had to.
Yeah, I had to.
You had so we let them drop or trade their qualifying run time for their race time.
Right.
Like if they had a DFN and you ended up having a DFN on stage 2.
DNF.
That's what it said. DNF. Sorry, DFN is day 4. Is film term day 4 night. By the way.
Okay, DVDA.
Now you're learning a little thing.
DVDA.
You had a DVDA.
I had a
and
very bad DVDA.
Yeah,
it
that's
was
right.
the most expensive pedal crank I've ever had in my life. So I was through the rock gardens on stage 2 for my race run. One pedal crank, chain snapped in 2 places.
Twisted too.
Twisted, shot into my cassette, broke a spoke, destroyed my axis derailleur, and now I'm homeless.
Now he lives with Brett.
Oh man! So I did have my other bike there,
Yeah.
smartly. So I jumped on it to finish the race
Which is a great thing to have. Is you should always have a backup bike.
or parts.
Your
Yeah.
wife may not like it,
No.
or your partner may not like it, but you should always have a backup bike.
That's right. And if you go to a race like ours, you can't do it at a race where you're way away
Yeah.
from the car. Race like ours, bring parts, bring bikes, make it fun.
We would
We're
pause the
okay.
race and help you fix it.
Yeah,
Like we're not that.
yeah. We're just about fun
Yeah.
and breaking things.
Well,
And the great thing is, think about how many runs we had at a high level and
Yeah.
no crashes.
yeah,
That's pretty amazing, honestly.
yeah. I mean, small little bitty stuff happen.
yeah, but nothing like
No,
people
no, maybe.
slid out.
Yep.
It's always nerve wracking. That last jump on Taco Bell when we were down there, I was like, oh God, holding your breath.
Everybody cleared it.
Everybody did, but it's still like a little nerve wracking. You're tired at that point.
Yeah.
You know, you're a little weak.
It's just interesting to attack those trails race speed versus trail speed. They're built for trail speed,
Yeah.
but they held up to race speed.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a good series. Hopefully, again, we had an open call on this one, and all you had to do is kind of reach
Yeah.
out. So
And we sent invite video out to certain people.
Yep.
Maybe next time we expand it.
yep,
But hopefully this builds the energy for the winter. You know, like not the energy for us to ride, but the energy for people to come want to be a part of it
Yeah.
and build it. And
yeah. I mean, it's
Right.
off season, other places. Come hang out. I mean,
Right.
it was a jokingly fun, good time. It was
It was
more about
awesome.
laughing and having a good time than it was anything else. So
it was great. And then, you know, we have a lot of what's coming up now. You know, we got,
yep,
if you're listening to this on the Friday that it comes out, we're going to go to UWF on Sunday
Yep.
for their Toys for Tots thing.
yep,
We're all going to go ride over there and have some fun. We always go. We always win all their prizes. So
yeah.
may as well.
They always do it on weekends when I'm in the old dad mode.
You got to hold Pooh to his words.
Oh yeah, that's true. I have to ask my wife though. I still have to get clearance through Clarence. That's how that works.
Clearance through Clarence.
Yeah.
Clarence Carter. Clarence Carter. Clarence
You don't
Carter.
remember? I've got Clarence. That's a Roger. That's an airplane.
Oh, I like airplane.
Yeah, airplane movies. You should.
I know.
I think that's the unofficial mascot of this podcast is airplane movies.
Yeah.
I don't think they're canceled now though.
Everything. Oh, yeah. All those like Naked Gun movies.
Yeah, I think they're cringy canceled.
So, well, do we have anything else coming up? Cool. Nothing.
Nothing yet.
There will be. If
Yeah,
you
there will
listen.
be. I think I think one of my goals is I'm going to work with Dale and Paul, Paulie P, that now has joined us. Paul's got a lot of XC
Oh,
race
man,
experience.
he's got tons.
And so I think we're going to actually work on not Lincoln Park being a circuit loop
Oh, that'd be cool.
because it could be a good one. So we might make something fun out of that so that instead
Yeah,
of it just
has a good eye for XC trails. And
Dude
the
can build
building.
trails.
Yeah, he can build some awesome
he's
trails.
smart about trail stuff. And his whole thing is it's hilarious. He doesn't want to pedal going down. He doesn't want to pedal. But he said to me, he's like, just like you guys, I don't want to pedal. I just don't want to pedal going straight downhill. I want to not pedal at an angle.
Right.
I was like, got it. Okay.
Yeah, he wants to make the downhill longer.
Yeah.
I
He likes
get it.
flow. He likes flow.
And I'm not a great XC built trail builder. So
They're hard. They're much
very
different
hard.
mindset. We just throw stuff at them. We're like, can you get fast enough? Yes, we can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Bob the Builder style. All right. Well, this time I'm officially going to wrap it up because we've reached our 58-minute mark.
Ooh. But
Hour-long
there's some
episode.
good stories in there.
Yeah, there's great stuff in there.
Maybe.
Carrie, your name got mentioned. Next time I
Casey.
see you, I expect for you to tell me that this was the least best podcast we've ever made.
We are recording this on my wife's birthday. I didn't throw any bad ones at her today.
Oh, that's
I
fair.
threw a bad enough one on her on Sunday with all the money she's got to spend to fix my bike.
That
So
was pretty rough. I will tell you, I don't know if she told you this. When I came to the top of the hill, did she tell you?
yeah, she's like, oh, you're like, I think Dale's a little bit angry.
I was like, hey, Casey, heads up. Dale had a bike problem. It's going to be a little edgy. And she was like, great. I was like, I'm just giving you a heads up so you can deal with it now.
I did text Carrie and anybody else that was down there. I apologize for my temper tantrum. I'm competitive as hell. I don't like when I break things, especially when it's the 4th chain I've broken on that bike in a year.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating. So apologies. That's not my personality. I melted it down there, and by the time I got up to the top, I was good.
You good? You were laughing again.
I was fine.
I was like, man, I hope that's not gonna live with him all day.
Nah, I'm not.
It was in the moment. Thank God. That's okay.
It was I'm 100 yards from the finish. I had flawlessly ran. And I was going fast.
You could hear you coming down fast, and then you just heard it stop.
Yeah.
And at first we were like, oh no, he's yeah.
It was just a frustrating moment. So apologies. Anybody that was there. It's not me. It is me. It's my other personality. That's when I have to get chained to the tree when I get crazy. With a broken chain.
Take these broken chains.
Oh, man, there's so many.
Oh, it's so easy. All right, well, that's going to do it for the show. As always, remember what Dale Boyd says.
Like, follow, subscribe, share. Do it for the gram.
All right, I'm killing the streams, Ray. Good job.